Hello, here's Kramer's Corner with a daily technical update on the FX market, the interest rates market, and crypto. And I'll throw in the gold and silver spot also in this educational video. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended. So let's start with your dollar as usual. We have your dollar now currently trading around 116, has been below 116, and is currently also below the cloud, actually closed below yesterday. And we are in a bearish trend, lower low, lower high, and lower low. Maybe we could get a little bit of correction, but bearish trend is indeed there. It is also very close to be confirmed. The RSI currently just around 40 threshold. You see just below it here. So that will be key towards here the next day or so. Today, what we'll do, will it actually push lower, or can it bounce around and try to get back about 116.70? That is the key to get back about. But again, look at this the 100 and the 200 coming down, 50 down here. So the pressure is to the downside. The sterling dollar is also in a bearish mood, but have bounced quite strongly up to the 38.2 retracement into the cloud there. Never closed below the cloud, by the way, but negative sentiment. So the pressure is also to the downside. We are below 155 and the 200 moving average, and they're both slightly declining. So again, here the pressure is to the downside for now. But there is still some possibility we could bounce up to 134.65, maybe even up to 135, the 61.8 retracement. If it gets back up there, well, then certainly it could turn the tide a little bit. But on the other hand, again, the 100 moving area is trying to hold it down there, and that is a blurry picture. If there's none, it's really, sometimes it's really hard to find a direction, and it's not all the time there's a clear picture. Euro sterling opened lower this morning here, just below the 61.8 retracement at 86.5, and bounced. If it takes out the lows from this morning here around 86.45, then expect a push lower. Then we could be looking at 86 level, but a bounce up to the 86.80 level could be seen. That's the 38.2 retracement of this bullish move here. But again, I think the pressure is to the downside. And if we're just very quickly looking at the intraday chart, here's the 1 hour chart, we can see how it's still on the downside. 55 moving average, so we're pushing down. We are below the 100 hour, the 200 hour week, the 200 moving average on the hour chart. So that's a little bit still under pressure to the downside there. On the yen pairs, dollar yen try to keep bouncing. Stalling a little bit around the upper part of the cloud here, but we are above. RSI got rejected yesterday here at the 60 threshold, and that is also key. If it can't break it, and it can't break above 159.50, then we could see it sitting back. And again, do remember, Bank of Japan might be intervening again, and that is maybe what scares the market a little bit for trying to push dollar yen higher. And I think if we slide back below the levels around 158, well, then we could see it setting back further. So it seems like market is taking notes, say, okay, not much higher than here. We have some support at 157.25. We have the 100 moving average coming up. They're giving some support, so we could actually be caught range bound in this area here for some time. But let's see if there are some braves out there that want to try 159.50. It's not unlikely, but the RSI is telling us a story that it is fading a little bit. Euro yen in a very tight range between 183.90 and 185.45. Breakout could tell us the direction. You can see the 55, 100 more or less flat, really. RSI in a negative sentiment, so it has a negative undertone. And if it takes out the lows there at 183.90, well, then we could see it setting back towards 182.50. Will we get there? Well, that's debatable. Let's add this one to the mix. Then we have a little bit of an idea. Maybe we could see it down to 183.35 and 182.75. The Aussie yen sliding further back yesterday, touching the 61.8 retracement. We talked about it in yesterday's video. Just above the 55 moving average, giving some support there. But I think if it takes out the lows from yesterday, well, then we could see it pushing towards 112.786 retracement. Key strong support here in the region around 111, just above 111. I don't think that will be broken, but it could be tested, but I'm not quite sure it will. I think we could see a little bit of a bounce now here at throughout the day. Sterling yen. Wide range here between 214.25, actually it's spiked up to 214.40 there, but that's the range we are talking about. To the upper side, to the downside, 210 and also 40, 210.40. If it moves back below the cloud, then there could be further downside. We are currently still above the cloud, never really close below, so the undertone is a slightly bearish, but negative sentiment is keeping it in check. And also with the moving averages here, they are still rising, but they are slowly flattening, especially the 100. So we need to break out for direction, I believe. Aussie dollar testing support at 71, and the 55 moving average have done that within the past 24 hours. I think if it takes out the lows from yesterday at 70.75, well, then we are looking at 70.40, possibly down to just around the 61.8 retracement, which is just below the 61.8 retracement here. We have the cloud support, we have the 100 moving average coming up, giving some support, so that will be that is key towards. I'm not quite sure we'll get all the way down there. Also, RSI still positive sentiment, could bounce off 30. So, but keep an eye on. I think the range from yesterday could tell us a story that if it takes it out to the downside, well, then there's a potential down to around 70 level. If it takes out to the upper side, well, then we could see it resuming uptrend towards the previous peak there at 70 to 70 plus. Dollar Canada, well, still hovering around the 50% retracement of this downside trend there. We are in the cloud just above the 55 and 100 moving average, and they are both slightly rising. RSI testing 60 threshold as we speak, and if it can finally break it, and it is quite likely actually, and if the dollar Canada also taking out and stays above the peak there at 137.75, well, then there is a little bit of resistance here around 138 and a change, the 61.8 retracement, where we also have the 200 moving average. So it could be decided here within the next 24 hours, possibly, or at least before the weekend. Range and support 136.90. If it takes out that, we'll expect a push down to the 61.8 retracement there at 136.35. But we have the 21 moving average also giving a little bit of support there. The EURUSD still this key support here around the 91.25 that is holding on. Moving on to dollar Swiss, that has kept bouncing, and especially yesterday above the 786 retracement. And let's just make it a little bit bigger, upper part of a cloud. Still negative sentiment. It hasn't closed above 60 threshold after being below 40 there and 40 there. I think it will have a really hard time getting above 79.25 and the 200 moving average. It might try it, might test it, but I think it will be knocked back. But again, here we could also see it being caught range bound for a little while until it breaks out either to the downside of 78.35 or here at the 79.25. So that could be the range here for some time, given the fact that we have the 200 coming down, but we have the two others, 55 and 100 coming up. So they could kind of squeeze it in there for for the next few days, maybe a week. Dollar index trying to close the gap there to the 99.48. If it does close above, well, then the road is paved towards the previous peak there at 100.5. And that is really a key level also. If it slides back below the gap area there and back below 99, then a downtrend could set back in. But for now, it actually broken up, established a bullish trend, and also confirmed by a positive sentiment on the RSI. So it seems to me the upside is on the way. And let's just have a look at gold spot and silver spot. Gold spot has established a bearish trend, or re-established a bearish trend. We already were in negative sentiment after being below 40 threshold, couldn't get back above 60. So now we are back below 40. We have a lower low, lower high, lower low. So that is established, and we could see gold sliding lower in the coming weeks towards 4,400 and around the 61.8 retracement, maybe even down to the 786 retracement at 4,267, which it could spike below the 200 moving average. But look at this, what happened over here back in March, where it spiked and then bounced. So let's see. I think we maybe could see a spike down there and then a bounce, but how strong will it be, that's debatable. We also have the 55 coming down there, the 100 flat, but slowly turning around. The silver spot also pushing lower here yesterday below the cloud. No negative sentiment though, it's actually positive sentiment, which is a little bit unusual. But that is because we had that strong move here in the early part of May, just below $90, got rejected there and then set back. So it could turn a tide. If it takes out 70 spot 85 down here, well then bearish trend is in session with a move down to around 65, 63 and the 200 moving average. Moving on to the interest rates market, and we need the bigger picture here on the US 10-year Treasury yield. You can see how it has broken out of this triangle. I've shown it to you many times also before it actually did break out, and pushing higher, almost 470 today, and I think 480 will be reached fairly soon. And then there's a potential up to 5%, the previous peak there in this triangle-like pattern. Let's zoom out even more, then we can see it here. Really significant move in the bullish trend, positive sentiment on the RSI, indicating likely higher levels. That's also spilled into Europe, obviously, so to speak, but we also have our inflation issues. And the EU 10-year yields pushed higher yesterday, touched 320, could push higher here in the coming weeks. You can see after breaking above the falling trend line on the RSI, positive sentiment, and we could push higher. So 322 is the 138 2 projection of this corrective sideways move here, and it is not like I think we will touch it, maybe even 325. UK 10 is bouncing after being sent down the day before. And let's see what happens today. It hasn't opened just yet, but I think it will crawl higher. If it takes out the peak there from the other day at 520, well, then we are looking at 529, 530, possibly higher. Japanese also still in a bullish trend, a bit stretched actually. Look at the RSI. It's at 84, and it can't only go to 100. So it's stretched. So you can say overdone, but there's no divergence indicating after a possible correction we could see it moving higher towards 290. And finally on crypto, Bitcoin has been set back, but still the bullish trend is intact as long as we stay above 73,700. And Ethereum actually did turn into a little bit of a bearish trend, negative sentiment, but it's trading around the lower falling trend line there and around the 61.8 retracement just above the 786, and we could see it crawling back, but let's see about that. Maybe it will follow the stock market a little bit, and that bounced a little bit yesterday. There will be an update later on that. All right, that's all for today on these markets. Have a nice day and keep charting.